Thank you again, Lauren. Well, all right, let's jump into today's session. So if you are a B2B company, or if you're a company that has got some sort of a recurring revenue stream, then you're obviously trying to protect your revenue by preventing customer churn, maybe increasing the revenue from your existing customers by trying to sell them more products and more services, and also maybe to boost your own customer satisfaction ratings or NPS ratings so that you get more word of mouth, right? So that way you can increase advocacy. That basically means you get more testimonials, more logos, more case studies, which in turn gets you the next set of customers, right? So over the next half an hour or so, I'm going to be uh, I believe it's going to be very highly relevant and also very practical, because I'm going to take you through an approach for implementing and achieving all of these things that I just mentioned, which is to protect your revenue and increase your revenue from existing customers through a proactive support and an engagement model. Now, you might actually ask why proactive support is even needed and why now? That's a very fair question. And the answer to that partly lies because of the impact that the subscription economy has actually brought in. So let's actually begin there, right? So the subscription economy refers to the general trend of businesses shifting to subscription, the business model, right? So you actually pay a subscription fee on a periodic basis for access to a particular product or service. Now, this is opposed to a traditional business model where you do a one-time transaction. For example, hey, you buy a laptop and along with it comes the Windows operating system, let's say, and you already paid for that. So that's exactly what it means. And you can use it for, you know, time infinitum, ad infinitum, right? Until the time, the end of life of that particular software actually happens. But that's essentially what it was, as opposed to the subscription economy, where, as shown in this particular diagram, if you look at the old world, the vendor was at the center of the business world, right? The vendor was actually, for the lack of a better term, king or queen, right? So what we mean by that is customers were actually forced to pay up a lot of expensive fees, because thanks to the on-premise solutions, right? Because we are talking about a lot of expensive setups and servers and a lot of customizations that go in and so on and so forth. And they also lock you in for a very long period, usually about, we're talking about multi-year contracts, right? 5 years or even longer at times. Now, because of this, the barrier to exit, if you wanted to switch vendors from one to another, it became all the more difficult for you. That's because you've already made a lot of investment into that particular product and particular vendor, and your entirety of your workforce has been trained on that particular platform. So retraining costs and also making sure all of those minor modifications and the nitty-gritties and the idiosyncrasies that you have creeped into that system multiply, and hence it makes it that much more difficult for you to actually shift, right? Now compare that to today's subscription economy world, where actually what's happening is the customer is actually at the center of this universe, right? And it's been enabled because it's a lot more in the sense everything is on the cloud, so it's a lot less expensive, it's much cheaper rather, right? And it's also possible for you to not sign multi-year contract. You can choose as something as small as a monthly payment as you go, as you use the product. And most commonly, you have an annual payment that you go with most of these SaaS businesses and business softwares that they use. So, but the problem is with these shorter sales cycles, what also happens is that you have churn or people leaving your product and service for a competing product or service much faster. It's much more rapid, right? So it's a double-edged sword, right? There are certain benefits that you get from the traditional business model, and you get a lot more benefits from the SaaS business model. So what essentially is happening is that with this change, many functions within your own company, starting with support, starting with your customer success teams, starting with your account management and sales teams, they have this additional responsibility in addition to whatever it is that they normally do, which is to keep their existing customers happy make sure they do not leave, thereby you protect your revenue, and also figuring out ways to add more value to them, right? How do you deliver more value so that you can sell more of your products and services to them over a period of time so that they become a lot more profitable. Now, I say this because, especially in today's economy where we are talking about uh, nobody's actually talking as much about, let's say, new customer acquisition as much as keeping their existing customers happy. And we know the reason why, because going after a new customer is 5 times more expensive than keeping an existing customer. Right? Imagine all of those marketing costs, all of those additional onboarding costs and retraining and all of those things. So it's a lot more difficult to get new customers rather than just keeping your existing customers and growing that particular customer by selling them or upselling and cross-selling more of your products and services, right? Now, having said this, how do we do that, right? It's all sounds easy. Keep your existing customers happy, but it's much more difficult than that. So the analogy that I would like to give you is that of an Apple Watch, right? That monitors your fitness. So you add it on and it actually says, hey, how much time did you stand? How much time did you walk? How much time did you run? And it gives you a sort of a coherent health score, which says, yeah, today you're good. You're in the green band, right? And you've achieved all of those concentric circles and all good, right? Because it's a combination of one or more parameters that contributes to our overall health, right? Maybe flexibility, agility, stamina, endurance, and so on and so forth. So similarly, what you really need is something that gives you real-time metrics about the health of your customers. How do you get a pulse on your customers, right? And this is an example that we have given you. On the right-hand side, if you see, maybe some of the things that talk about the health of your customers could be your NPS rating and your CSAT scores, which is your customer satisfaction scores. The ticket volume that comes in, is it high, is it low? In some cases it's a good, it could be good for your business. In some other cases it's actually bad. The product usage score, what I mean by this is that which features and functionalities are they using in your product, right? So when they actually pay up for your product or service, they're using certain features, but are they using all the features? And if they're not using a whole bunch of them, that basically means they're not deriving all the value that they can possibly from your system, and probably that means they're not using it as effectively as they should, which could also be a concern because they could churn eventually. And finally, even maybe the activity level. You're talking about, hey, they bought 50 licenses or 100 licenses from me, but it seems like only 30 people or 20 people actually seem to be logging in on a daily basis or a monthly basis, which is obviously quite concerning, right? So that means that they could downgrade their account. So similarly, by a combination of these various parameters that we put into the system, the data that we actually aggregate from multiple sources, you get a pulse on the customer's health. And I say this because very often your customers never complain about, if they are facing some issue, some problem, some pain with using your product or your service, they may not always reach out to support, right? They may just not do that. They may be just suffering silently, and one day they just churn, they just go away to the competitor. And how do you deal with these people? Because most of the time support is usually reactive, right? It's not proactive. Somebody has already experienced a problem and they reach out to you and you try to resolve that. How do you actually proactively now reach out to them, knowing that they are having some sort of an issue, by looking at these vitals, as I would like to call, of that particular business, and actually address it with some sort of a playbook? Maybe you want to intervene, maybe you want to give a discount, maybe you want to solve some of those open tickets. Maybe it's basically a new feature that they want from your product, which you can then communicate to your engineering and product team so that you can build it out and actually convey the same, right? So all of those things. And of course, the example I gave you may be from a software world, but let's say it could be even relevant if you're an e-commerce business and you have a number of other businesses that you deal with. For example, a B2B2C marketplace, right? Eventually your product reaches the customer, but then you're probably dealing with other businesses who then do the distribution for your business, right? So that becomes extremely relevant. So uh, so how do we actually go about achieving this, right? So let's how do you build this Apple Watch rather for your customers' health? So step one is to aggregate all of your customer data from various places into one single consolidated place. So it could be like, hey, I have my NPS and CSAT system from where I understand the pulse of my customer as to whether they are really happy with my product and with the service that we are giving them, right? Maybe you want to pull some information from your billing and invoicing systems, because that gives you a lot of data regarding the contract data, the MRR data perhaps, or the number of licenses that they bought, the number of add-ons that they bought, the number of special value-added services they may have taken from you. Are they a premium customer? A lot of the data is residing over there. Certain other data is there from your help desk, for example, a fresh desk or a fresh service or any other help desk solution that you use, which talks about, hey, how many tickets are coming in, right? Which talks about how happy or how many problems that they are generally facing with your product or solution, right? And so support tickets generally. And you could also probably bring in several other systems like your CRM, which manages your leads and your contacts and the entire the pre-sales funnel per se, right? You can also bring in data from your own product or service in terms of who went on my website, where are they clicking, how many people are churning, did they add something to cart but they did not complete the purchase. A whole lot of those things can be captured, right? And all that you need is, all of this sounds really easy because you'll have to build those data connectors and APIs and bring them in. But once you do that, that is still raw data, and raw data is not as helpful. So you need to make sense out of the data, which means you need to do some data cleanup, you need to do some data transformations, and you need to actually do some data hygiene and process the data in a manner it becomes useful for the different departments in your own company. So that could be a sales, a support persona, as a customer success, and an account management or a sales persona, right? So all of these people need different information about the business so that they can intervene and either protect revenue, prevent them from churning, going away to a competitor, or they could intervene and actually say, hey, it seems like I need to prioritize this particular customer more because they seem to have a lot of support tickets, and I need to address this early so that I can prevent churn. Or the support person could also identify saying that, hey, perhaps we can actually sell more products and services to this person. They could be a good upsell or a cross-sell candidate. Let me pass on this lead to my sales team. And your sales team obviously can also identify upsell and cross-sell opportunities, or depending upon their NPS scores, maybe they are a promoter and you can try and get a case study or a testimonial or a logo that you can use on your own website, right? So that is step one. So once you're done with step one, the second step is to set up churn indicators, some sort of an early warning system that's able to indicate which are the accounts that need intervention, and if anything, what kind of intervention, right? So can I have some context on the data points that we have today? So over here, we have given an example of 3 sets of customers: somebody who's healthy, somebody who's neutral, and somebody who's at risk of churn, right? So you have, I mean, these are just some indicator parameters that we can use, but it really depends upon your business as to what is more important for you. And you can really bring in any number of data sources, and it really works. And you can also set up the rules in such a way to say, hey, if the number of monthly active users has dropped by more than 20% from last month, and if the CSM score, or let's say the NPS or the CSAT score, is lower than usual, and also, let's say that the number of support tickets have actually suddenly shot down. There was a baseline of, let's say, 30 tickets a month, and suddenly it's come down to about 2 or 3. Could be a good indicator that this particular customer is looking at other vendors, right, to shift to. And then you can actually intervene and find out what the problem is, and at least try and address the cause of the churn. So that once you're done with that, right, once you've actually identified what is it that they're struggling with, the next step is to actually reach out to them. And this is where the proactive support and engagement concept actually comes in. So as you can see in this thing, the first thing you need to do is to segment your customer base, right? Maybe you want to say that, hey, my top 100 customers are responsible for almost, let's say, 50% or 80% of your revenue, right? So you want to really put some people who can actually reach out to them and address some of their questions. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the long tail of your customers with whom you cannot really spend as much time because you'll have to linearly expand your headcount. and assign those people to each of those accounts, and that's not possible. And which is why we internally refer to this as a programmatic approach, which is a technology touch. We make use of automations, we make use of bots to actually reach out to them and make sure that their concerns are addressed, right? And this could be just regular email automation techniques, email triggers that actually go out with useful information that are still personalized as per their account, because all of their data is flowing in, remember? So you can take any of those fields and customize your email and send it out to them. Now, just to capture those 3 steps again, this is what you need to offer proactive support and engagement, which is to make use of your customer data and turn them into actionable insights to engage with the right customer, the right message, and at the right time, right? Now, having said that, I'll just take a quick pause over here to take any questions that might have come in. Okay. All right, I'll just continue quickly to introduce Fresh Success, because this is a tool that does pretty much everything that we just spoke about over here, and nicely automated with all the goodness that you're used to seeing from a company like Freshworks, right? So if there is anyone in your company who is tasked with retaining existing customers and also getting more revenue, that is to increase the customer lifetime value, then this product is extremely relevant for them. There are usually 2 verticals that we see this extremely applicable to. The first is B2B businesses, and the second is any business that has got a recurring revenue stream. If you have a bunch of customers, for example, if you're an e-commerce vertical, and if you're dealing with other businesses who act as distributors for your products and services, then you don't want them to actually churn for any reason, right? And if their performance actually falls down, you might want to just step in and find out what's really going on, and you want a playbook to work off of, right? So that all your customers, or rather all your employees who are in charge of customer success are able to play off the same standardized playbook, right? And also make sure that they can change that playbook to make sure that they are retained and also get more revenue out of them. Now, in the simplest word, Fresh Success is a customer success management platform that maximizes your customer lifetime value, right? And having said that, here are the 3 things that it actually does. The first is proactive customer engagement. What I mean by this is that, again, it helps you intervene with the right customer, with the right message at the right time. And it also tracks customer health in real time across the entire customer life cycle, from onboarding to trial or to renewal, and any contracts, any of the requirements being captured, all your QBRs, anything that you can imagine, everything is actually tracked, and you can segment them based on that, and you can actually find out how the customer health is changing, right? And the last, but probably the most important piece, is that you get a single view of all your customer data. As I said, right now, all of that customer data is lying in a CRM system, in an ERP system, in a billing and invoicing system, in your NPS tool, inside your own product, which basically means maybe you're using a BI tool, or maybe you're using something like a heap. And then you have your marketing automation platforms. You have a whole bunch of other systems that you have, where a lot of your customer data is actually sitting in silos, right? So the idea is to actually make sure that you're able to combine all of that with no code effort required from your end. So this is something that Fresh Success does automatically. So when we actually bring you on board, our engineers actually sit with you and make sure all the data pipes from all of those various systems are connected in, with no effort from your requirement, with no effort from your end, except for certain access and support that is required for us to put all the data together, and you get actually white glove service. This is an enterprise grade product, right? So you get all of that goodness with people. And what we have seen is, for anybody with over $4 million in revenue, this is extremely relevant. So, and in terms of benefits, those are the 3 things it delivers. It helps you protect your revenue by reducing churn. That is, your customers leaving you for a different vendor or to the competition. It helps you expand accounts. So if they bought like just 2 products or 3 services from you, how do you actually sell more products and more services, right, from your expanded portfolio? And also to finally boost advocacy. That is to make sure that your CSAT and NPS scores goes up, and perhaps you can use them as a reference for some other customer who's coming in that particular vertical, and probably also get some case studies and testimonials that you can use on your website. Now, in terms of KPIs, again, I've just mentioned a few KPIs over here. This is not an exhaustive list, but I've just mentioned what some of those could look like. Most of the time, it's about renewing your contract, and that's simply the most important thing. And also making sure during onboarding, it's a very successful one, because that way, once you actually explain to them how to use the product or service and get the maximum value out of it, chances of them being with you is again going to exponentially increase. The loyalty increases because they had a wonderful onboarding, they understand how your product or service works, and they can maximize the value that they get from it, right? And now I'll just jump into a quick demo. Sorry. So this is how the Fresh Success dashboard actually looks like. So if anybody from your account management team, your sales team, your customer success team logs into Fresh Success, or even your support team logs into Fresh Success, and we actually have an integration between Fresh Success and Fresh Desk. We have an app, so you get all of this data within Fresh Desk inside an app. Right? So it just makes a lot more sense for you to actually reply to that customer with all the context that you need, right? Is this customer at risk of churn? Is there some history that I need to know about? And all of the information is readily available to you so that you can personalize and contextualize your communication back to the customer. So now, but anyway, coming back to this particular demo, this is the first thing that they see. As you can see, there's an alert widget over here, which talks about accounts that they need to worry about. And that there are some portfolio, financials, and engagement stage related information over here, and a chart that actually represents which customers are healthy, neutral, and at risk of churn, right? And there are some goal summaries and task summaries, which I will come back to in the due course of time. But what this actually does is, in a very simple visual, it summarizes everything that you need to know about the portfolio that you own. So let's say you are in charge of 20 customers. Let's say you're an e-commerce firm and you are dealing with about 100 different vendors who act as your distributors. You want to make sure that those people are happy and they want to continue to sell your products and services, right? So you want to keep a pulse on that and make sure that maybe you have maybe about, let's say, 5 customer success managers. So what would essentially happen is you want to make sure that you assign 20 accounts to each. And when they start their day, you want to make sure that they can focus on which accounts and help them prioritize their day so that they know which accounts and which people to call and what to do to make sure that they're happy and they become promoters, and actually you're able to sell more products and services to them, right? So let's take a look over here where we see an account called Acme, which is at risk of churn, right? Now you can, if you know about this account quite well, then you can immediately create a task and start working off of that. But let's say this is your first day at the job. So you may want to know, hey, I want to know why this account, this churn alert was actually fired. And it says, hey, there was a decline in MAU, which is your monthly active users. Perhaps they bought, let's assume the case of a SaaS product, very much like, let's say, like Freshdesk. And you say, this particular person who bought Freshdesk from me seems to have a 20% decline in MAU. Let me actually find out what went wrong. So what you will do is to go to the particular account and find out what's exactly happening over there. What is the reason why that particular churn alert was thrown? Now, this is what we refer to as the Account 360 page. And as you can see over here, it gives you a 360-degree information about everything regarding that customer. So we have pulled in all of the data from different data sources into one single summarized, visualized place, right? It's a consolidated dashboard of everything you need to know about your customer. So over here, you can see that there is a health score. It says, hey, the health score is only 30, which is in the red band. And you can define these placeholders, right? You can make sure that your health score is in the red band only if it's 25. That's really up to you. And it says that this particular customer is worth $16,000 per month to me, and they are in the onboarding stage, right? And they are in the enterprise tier. So you could have whatever tiers that you like to have, maybe SMB, maybe growth, maybe commercial, maybe mid-market, enterprise, and however you like. And it could be at different stages as well. Maybe closer to the renewal date, the stage could move to renewal, right? And you have quite a bit of information about the company that we pull from your CRM. There are certain key dates. For example, you can see that the next renewal is due on 9th December. That's not too far. So probably you need to act fast on this account, right? You have some latest status. So you know what the CSM actually wrote about over here, and something you can quickly refer to. And you can understand the hierarchy, who are the main contacts, your POCs in that company, and there are certain NPS and CSAT related scores that are available over here. You know that this person is a detractor and not an advocate or a promoter over here. So that's a little concerning. So how do you improve the NPS? So you can actually create playbooks for that. And there are many custom dimensions that you can bring in. Right? So this could involve everything from the number of licenses that they've used. See, for example, you can see from your, let's say you're using invoicing or a billing system like ChargeBee or Zora, we can pull in all that data and make it readily available for you. So it says, hey, maybe they bought 50 licenses, but they're using only 32 licenses over here, and so on and so forth. So this gives you a very quick idea about who this customer is, uh, where are they, what are they doing, and what are their current needs and requirements, right? And then, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of information if you would like to deep dive into any one of these metrics. So let's take, for example, hey, they did say that my health score actually dropped. Why is the health score only 30? So the first thing you can do is to actually go in here and see, it's like you get a trend of what the health score was looking like over a period of time. And suddenly you can see over the last 2 days, there's been a sudden drop, right? It went from 52 to 30, which is concerning. And you may want to double click into that to find out why that drop happened, right? So you can set it up however you want, right? You can say that, hey, I want the NPS and CSAT scores to contribute. I can assume that the product activity or the website activity contributes to the health score, and that's what you see over here. And the number of support tickets could be an indicator of the health score, and so on. So we have basically said there's a 60-40 split between or other activity and support durations over here, and that's how it computes, right? And so you say, okay, all this is fine. Maybe I want to go to the communications tab to see the list of recent communications I've done. So we pull in data from all of your emails from your inbox, any customer communication you have had from that specific customer, any support ticket that's come in. And when you actually click on these tickets, and if it's integrated to Freshdesk, it automatically opens that particular page, right? And so on and so forth. So you can actually find out, hey, what's been happening over the last few weeks that resulted in a 20% decline in MAU, right? And so on and so forth. There's a whole bunch of information that you can get. So if you're an e-commerce site, you can find out, hey, they went to the add to cart section, and what are all the various features that they used, and I'm having trouble. Maybe they should be using more of the reporting feature or some other feature, which I think is critical, but they are not. And hence it acts as a sort of a cue to indicate that maybe I should work on increasing product adoption, because the more features and functionalities they use in the service or product I've provided, the chances of them churning is less, right? And so on and so forth. There is a whole bunch of things that you can access. There's financials, there's NPS history, there's, if you want to deep dive further into support tickets, that's also available over here. Any relevant documents related to them, such as contract information, can be stored in the document section. And then there is obviously something called goals. This is where you actually say, my goal is to make sure this customer at the end of the contract cycle renews, does a successful renewal. So you can actually say, hey, I want to create a playbook which exactly represents that. And here's a bunch of things that I need to do. And you can actually assign a whole bunch of tasks, and you can have a timeline associated with it, and somebody can routinely go and see all of those things, right? So besides that, there is setting up goals and tasks. There is a very powerful email center. There's a team management section as well, which helps you manage your entire team. So if everybody is tasked with different set of objectives. For example, the customer success team may be in charge of making sure of customer retention and also getting more advocacy and expansion opportunities, while your AMs may be limited to just identifying upsell and cross-sell opportunities about selling more products and services to your existing customers, right? So you want to keep an eye on that and basically manage the team so you can see that what is the amount of money or portfolio amount that they're managing right now, how many accounts are they managing, what is the average MRR, the health score, and so on and so forth. And you can split it by a whole bunch of metrics over here, and maybe you want to filter it further for a specific uh, health score, and you want to sort them in certain orders, or you want to do relative MRR, and so on and so forth. That's a whole lot of information, ways of slicing and dicing this data the way you like it. There is also, we have email automations as well. So you can, let's say you launched a new promotion, or you launched a new offer, or maybe you're conducting a webinar or or a conference or an event, and you want to send that email out to a certain set of customers. You can actually set that up and routinely go out. Or maybe somebody was interested in something specific you had to offer. They wanted an early access to it, but they never used it. So again, based on the activity that they did on their website or on your product, you can automate that and say, fire up this email, send this email to that particular customer in case they may never use that product even after 10 days of asking for it, right? So there's a lot of possibilities there that you can do. And the best part over here is that you have a number of reports to understand the health and optimize that particular account to ensure that they stick with you. But even better is the analytics section. So quick fact, uh, this was a product that we had acquired and then built natively into our system. So this product was earlier called Natero, and Natero, before it was a customer success management platform, was actually a business intelligence and analytics tool. So you have extremely good analytics features over here. So for example, you can just say, hey, maybe I want to see uh, all my accounts up for renewal, and I want to select a dimension, say based on country. Okay, let's do this, right? Country, and you apply, and you get the graph, right? Maybe, and you can change the representation over here, the chart type. This is a much better representation, right? And of course, you can export it into CSV or PDF files. And in addition to that, you may want to present this to your superiors, to your executive team, and hence you can even create your own dashboard. And there's a whole lot of possibilities over here. The best part is actually goals, because what it means is that once you give your team in various departments specific goals, you can actually create a playbook. You can put a metric, and you can actually see how far along are they getting closer to achieving that goal. And that goal could be like achieve $100,000 in new revenue from our high touch customers, right? Or it could be prevent reduce churn or keep churn to less than $50,000 this year. And you can create a set of playbooks, and you can actually make sure that you have a list of tasks for them to do over a certain period of time. And if they execute those tasks successfully, is the metrics that you're attaching with it. It could be an NPS score, it could be product adoption metrics, it could be revenue itself, and see how far along are they progressing towards that particular end goal or end outcome. So that's essentially what it is. With this, I would close the demo for now and return to the presentation to leave you with our key takeaways, right? So as I said, what Fresh Success does, even without Fresh Success, if you would like to actually go about creating a proactive support and engagement model, you really need to get to know your customer by aggregating customer data. You need to make this data actionable by extracting the insights and context. This is usually done by setting up automated alerts and in real time. And finally, once you have that context and insight, engaging proactively with those customers with a very, very strong playbook so that you can reduce churn, that is to protect your revenue. You're increasing the amount of money you can make from every single customer you have by selling them more products and services and add-ons. And finally, improving advocacies by using them as references for other customers who want to try out your products and services, or getting case studies and testimonials that you can showcase on your website, right? And finally, in terms of parting thoughts before I open the floor for questions, um, the first part is like, obviously, why now? Why is proactive support and engagement so important? As we just saw, um, my uh, my personal opinion is like, unless you take advantage of new sources of data and you harvest that customer signal and ensure your customers get value for what they pay, you will bleed the revenue, right? There will be churn, and it's inevitable because of the subscription economy, because uh, products are not clunky and difficult to use as they were earlier, right? People really needed extremely huge number of training hours to actually use that particular product. But now with the consumeration of IT software, it's as easy as using, if you know how to use Facebook or any of the regular apps that we use on an everyday basis. If you can figure that out, then you can figure out how to use a fresh success or a fresh desk or a fresh service or a fresh sales or a Freshworks CRM, right? So that's essentially what it means. And the second question obviously is, who should care, right? Who needs to worry about this, right? So anyone in your company who is tasked with retaining customers, that is your account management, customer support, salespeople, customer success teams. So for all of them, it is relevant in case they hold any one of those KPIs of protecting your revenue by preventing churn, by increasing, by selling more products and services to your existing customers, and increasing advocacy or boosting advocacy. So with that, I'll open the floor for questions. And Lauren, in case you want to moderate this section of it, please feel free. I think I already see about 4 questions.
Yep. So let's just go ahead with the first question here. Now, the first question is from Chenwen. Chenwen's question is CSAT or NPS still the right metric to measure how happy customers are for post-sales?
That's a really good question. So it's we recommend not just using one metric to understand how happy a customer is. And I say this because it's like I gave you the example of your Apple Watch, right? If you're trying to measure your own health or fitness, it's not about how many kilometers or miles you walk on everyday basis. It's a combination of factors, right? It talks about, hey, your agility, your stamina, your endurance, your flexibility, your strength, and all of that collectively contributes to your fitness. So similarly, when you're talking about the pulse or the health of your customers, it's similarly, we're talking about multiple metrics that contribute to the overall health. Now, it's very much possible that you have a customer who is extremely, in terms of product usage, in terms of activity, it's very high. But the number of support tickets also filed is very high. And the CSAT NPS scores is not that great, right? Now, should you be worried or not? I don't know. Okay. But some combination of this could indicate that this particular customer is not happy with everything, right? And the whole point is, customers don't reach out to you when they have a problem necessarily, right? Most of them are silent churn customers. They remain silent, suffering from some issue, some problem from your product or service that you offer. And finally, one day just go away. They just go away. They just leave and go to some other vendor, to some other competition, because they have been evaluating and you had no wind of it, right? And it comes as a surprise. So what we recommend generally is to use multiple parameters and customer signals, as we like to call them, to build a comprehensive health score that can actually indicate if a customer is about to churn, or is this customer really happy and can we sell more products to that person, or at least get a testimonial from them.
Right, absolutely. I think that's a very good answer. But of course, what if the customer, how successors like to say, they don't say anything at all. But so how do we trigger them to actually get that response? Do you have any recommendations for that?
No, I'm sorry. I missed the last part. Could you come again?
So I said, how some customers, like you say, they suffer in silence most of the time, and it's very difficult to get the reaction out of them. So how do we trigger them to actually tell us what's wrong, if that's possible at all?
Yes, so that's where we do the proactive outreach, right? So there are multiple channels through which you can reach out to them. It could be via emails, it could be via a phone call in case you have the customer's number or an existing relationship, or maybe this customer interacts with you only via social media. So you can go back to social media on a Twitter or a Facebook and get back to them, right? So it really depends upon the preferred channel the customer has. And you may have a playbook, right? For example, it says, hey, this customer is at risk of churn, and you have the context as to why. And maybe it could be because, what we have noticed is that many a time, at least in SaaS products, and I can speak for this because we are a SaaS company and we dog food are all our products, right? So we want to know which customers are unhappy. And the best signal for us is to find out how high is the product adoption. According to us, if you have signed up for a specific plan, and if you're using X number of features out of the Y, and none of those X features are core features, it means you're not deriving all the value you're paying us for, right? So if you're paying us some X dollars, you're not deriving 100% value from it. You're deriving probably 40% or 50%. And that's problematic for us because it means you're not using the product to the best possible, most efficient way, but rather you're getting less value than what you're paying for. And as long as that is the case, that is a huge concern, right? So what we generally try to do is to make sure that they're using as many features and functionalities we have provided, and the setup is done really well so that they can succeed. So, and we have noticed that once that happens, the CSAT NPS scores automatically go up, and also the product activity and usage levels go up. The number of support tickets, well, it may, at least it sort of becomes a stable line, and it doesn't really vary too much unless, of course, there are some releases and it's a little buggy. But as long as the number of open tickets and the time to resolve it is small enough, you're good. Right? And it leads to a successful renewal at the end of that sales cycle, which could be a year, it could be biannual, it could be quarterly, it could be monthly.
All right, thank you so much for going into detail. That I really, really do appreciate that. And that was a very good question. Now, Chinwen has a second question. The question is, how can SMEs benefit from a tool like Fresh Success? What are the pros and cons?
Yes, SMEs. So again, so as I said, so the tool that we have built today and in its current avatar is relevant for B2B SaaS and subscription companies, basically companies that have some sort of a recurring revenue stream, right? You're selling software and you bill them on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis. And then it becomes extremely relevant because think about softwares like Freshdesk or Freshservice or any of these things, and it's relevant, right? The second part that we have noticed is that there are a lot of B2B2C marketplaces. And what I mean by that is that, let's say you're an e-commerce firm, right? But you're not selling to your customers, but rather to businesses, the businesses who sell your products and services and act as distributors in their regions. Now, you don't want to lose that relationship. So because they are giving you a lot of revenue, and for example, we have this furniture maker, they just do the supply, right? And there are their distributors who either brand them or white label them and then sell it to a large number of people. Now, for whatever reason, you don't want that particular business to churn because every single business is a high value customer for you. You may have only 100, but each of those 100 are very important. And you may have only about 5 or 6 salespeople, and it's difficult for them to keep tabs on the health of all those customers, right? Maybe somebody had a problem with some aspect of your delivery and that is not being captured, or maybe they actually keep calling your support for help with certain things with respect to, let's say, logistics or timely contract renewals and things like that, or maybe payment related aspects. All of these things are relevant for you, right? And you want to get all of this data captured, and you have this data. The problem is they all are there in different silos within the same company, right? You have so many different, you have 10 or 12 tools to run your business, and all of the data is lying in different places. You have an invoicing billing system, you have a CRM system, you have an NPS system, you have your own order management system, if anything. So all of the data is lying everywhere, and it's not possible for a salesperson to log into every single tool, capture all of the data, make sense out of it, and then go back to the customer saying that, hey, I found what the problem is, let me fix this for you, we apologize, here's a offer, here's how we want to make it up to you. Not possible, right? So that's essentially where Fresh Success really comes in and benefits SMEs.
All right, super cool. Okay, this next one comes from Clarence. So the question is, I just went through your website just now. May I ask what the different types of reports that are available across various plans in Freshdesk?
Oh, in Freshdesk, okay. 1 second. So you can always go to freshdesk.com/pricing. And so we have two types of products. One is the standalone help desk, and we have our omni-channel, right? And as you can see in the help desk, we have a free plan, and
Oh,
then we
I
have
don't think
four
we
paid
can
plans.
see your screen though at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Is it visible now?
All right. Yeah, there it is. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry. Um, what I was saying is that if you go to freshtest.com/pricing, you have all the information that you need. We have two flavors of our product. One is the plain vanilla help desk that you get, and the other one is our omni-channel, which is our flagship offering, right? Which integrates not just our help desk, but also our chat and caller systems. And also you have the ability to get what we call fresh bots or ready for CX, which enables you to deflect and engage customers in an automated fashion. So as you can see under the help desk, there is one free plan and there are four paid plans. Depending upon your needs, uh, different plans may actually apply. This is for more mature organizations who need really complex support processes. We have a whole bunch of features that helps them do that. And there are more details regarding that over here. There are also a bunch of add-ons that we have. As I said, field service management is something that I own, which is essentially extending customer support to the field, right? So most of the time somebody calls you in or somebody emails you and you can try and solve their problem remotely. But many a time, let's say, you're a home appliances company and that your vacuum cleaner has conked off, you may really need to send somebody over to that customer's location and actually get that serviced. So at that point in time, you have to dispatch somebody, get their appointment time, schedule the right person based on proximity, spare parts availability, and a whole bunch of stuff. And that's exactly what field service management is. And then we also have our Freddy Ultimate and Freddy Self-Service add-ons, which are our bots features, right? Which are both Freddy Self-Service is more on the customer-facing side, and the Freddy Ultimate is on the customer and agent-facing side. It just makes their life a lot more easier with a lot of AI, ML, and automations coming in and helping them do their job much better without having to increase headcounts. And there is also Omnichannel, which is, as I said, it's a premium flagship offering, which is available in the estate and forest plans. This is a combination of a desk, chat, and caller offerings. So you have your email, your social media on the desk side, you have your chat, and you have your PBX or private branch exchange, which is your VoIP and related ability to, you know, do the internet-based calling services, right? So there is that.
Okay, super cool. Thank you. And of course, Clarence, if you'd like to know a little bit more about Freddy AI, we actually had a session about that last week. So if you'd like to check out that video, just head on over to our Exabytes YouTube channel and Facebook page. The video's right there. Just click on it. The slides are all there. The presentation is there for your viewing pleasure. So thank you for that question. And following up from Clarence, there's another question that came in. One more question here. Are Freshdesk reports in real time?
So Freshdesk Analytics, we recommend that you start using Freshdesk Analytics. Reports is still more SMB oriented, and there is a lot more capabilities that you can get out of Freshdesk Analytics. And in that, I think the refresh rate is at around 30 minutes. Maybe they brought it down to 15 minutes. I don't know. But the last I heard, it was 30 minutes. In Fresh Success, it's near real time. It really depends upon at what rate you sync with us. So over here, if you see, if I go into analytics, it's really how fast you get your data into our system. Some people like to sync their CRM data with us on a daily basis. And so every 24 hours is when it's refreshed. Some people, if they need that, it's extremely business critical and they say it has to be every 15 minutes, 30 minutes, we can always explore that solution and make it happen.
What a time we're living in right now, right? Everything is almost real time. It's just so quick. It's pretty, astounding. That's amazing. Okay, thank you for that. Clarence came in with another question, and the question is, how to configure a marketing journey in Freshworks CRM?
Well, I wish I could answer this question. So I'm not familiar with the product as much, and I may not be the right POC for this. So, but I'll be happy to, or you could probably just sign up for the Freshworks CRM, and they would actually be able to tell you how the Freshworks CRM journey is actually set up. I've used it internally, but I'm not the product expert on this. apologies for that.
Okay, thank you. That's all right. Don't worry about it. So you guys, we have like I think about another 4 more minutes. So if you have any more questions, you can make them as detailed as you like. Just leave them in the Q&A box. Once again, we love answering your questions. So please do ask away. We're going to give you about a couple more minutes to do that. In the meantime, Praveen and I will just have a bit of a chat here. So Praveen, are you still working from home or are you back in the office already?
I'm very much working from home. Our office, well, they basically said that it's a lot of trouble going to my office because to go there, I would have to fill in a whole lot of forms, get some permission, and then go in there. I
Uh-huh.
don't think it's worth the trouble. But yeah, right now I'm just at home, and it's going to be this way till July next year.
Oh wow. So you get to stay at home and work from home until July. That's a good half year, isn't it?
At the very minimum. I think it's going to probably be extended even after that because I don't think they're going to ramp up workforce from 0% to 100% overnight. I think they're
Right.
going to ask teams to come in, set up, see how things are, and then let's hope, fingers crossed for the vaccine, and and we all get inoculated and hope life goes back to normal.
But what's the situation like there over there? I mean, like in terms of the pandemic and all that, because here we're still under CMCO, which is like the controlled movement order. We can still go out, we can still, take away food, we can get our groceries. It's not much of a problem. But there are restrictions here and there. So what's it like on your end?
I would say very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too different from there. There are precautions. Everybody is expected to wear masks and make sure that they have hand sanitizers and do not touch too many surfaces. The general precautions that you need to do. I guess we try to practice as much social distancing as possible, as much as it's physically possible at least. But yeah, life is as normal as it can get. The good news is that the numbers are also reducing. At least the trend over the last 3 to 4 weeks is positive, and I think it's all good.
All right, that's good to hear. Let's hope it stays that way. I think for the sake of everybody, because on our end here, I know we have people who are struggling to stay home because not all of us are like stay-home people. Some of us actually miss the office. That I know. I have colleagues who are like that as well. So, are you one of those guys? Do you find like a healthy balance between staying at home, or would you still rather prefer to be in the office?
Well, I would actually prefer a hybrid model where I get to choose, let's say, maybe 2, 3 days in the office and the other days on work from home. Because now that, you see, at least for Freshworks, right? Uh,
Mm.
we make remote products. Our products are supposed to work remotely, help businesses work remotely. So this is the best way to dog food and see it in action. So we are actually exemplifying that very much, right? So in many ways, we do believe the best way forward is some sort of a hybrid model where it's not necessary that you need to be in offices like 5 days a week, it's 365 days a year, or how many, I guess 300 days a year, but somewhere around that. I guess it's going to be a lot of flexibility that's going to be afforded to employees. And it's not just in our company, but I think a lot of companies around the world are looking at it because office spaces are expensive too. So
And I think we also see like an increase in productivity at home, not just from the work, but also I think from a very human perspective. And I think people find it a lot healthier to have that balance, to be able to make that decision to not just do the work, but also have some time to themselves. I think it's quite a healthy thing that we should start to cultivate. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think we don't have any more questions for now, so I think we can wrap this session up. Praveen, thank you so much for being a part of Digital Day and on coming to our event here on behalf of Freshworks. And you have been absolutely phenomenal. I think your presentation was so enjoyable. You guys, if you enjoyed his presentation, let's give him a virtual round of applause in the chat box right now. Praveen, thank you so much. I hope you stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.
thank you, Laureen. Stay safe. My pleasure.
All right, bye. See you.
Bye.
Okay, you guys, so for those of you who just joined us, welcome once again. This is Digital Day. You're currently tuned into the Freshworks webinar. Oh, I'm so excited to be here today because we just wrapped up our first session. We have another session coming up in just a bit. But of course, once again, for those of you who are wondering if you can get the video recording from today, the answer is yes. Just head on over to our Exabytes YouTube channel and Facebook page. This video will be there for your viewing pleasure. Do give us a week or so to upload the video, to make any editing changes, if there are any at all. And of course, don't forget you can ask as many questions as you like throughout the next session because we love questions. We want to give you this helping hand to see you through this difficult time. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and invite our next speaker on screen. Now we're going to be talking about the greater good, how the pandemic is shaping the future of customer care. A pretty interesting topic right here. Now in this session, we will see how customer expectations have changed, how businesses have adapted to the changes during the pandemic, and what we can expect going forward. Our speaker is the Senior Partner Sales Consultant of Freshworks. Please welcome to the screen, a big one welcome, Ms. Ramya Devi. Hi,
Hi,
hello.
Noreen. Good afternoon. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well, as much as I can. Thanks.
It's good to see. It's good to meet you for the very first time. Meet you, in fact, because this is the only way a lot of us can hang out together in one space without getting in trouble, and with social distancing and all that. So I would like to go ahead and set up your screen.
Yes, definitely. Just give us 1 minute. Yeah.
No problem. And of course, for those of you guys who are watching right now, don't forget you can share this live stream with your friends, your family, your coworkers, or anyone who you think will be benefiting from this live stream right here. So, okay, I can see your screen, and yeah.
All right. Okay, let's get started then. So good afternoon, all of you. So excited to see you all here, albeit virtually, right? So I think the word virtual sums up what 2020 has been to all of us so far. The things we know, the things we do, people, all of them have gone virtual or online, digital, right? So you can pick your word. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So in light of this virtual life we are living, we're going to see how customer experiences have changed, how it's bound to change, and what's next for us in 2020 and going forward, right? So let's take it up right now. Okay, so I guess we will all agree that times have changed, and so have our customers. And as you can see, there's no going back because we have sort of adopted to it. Now, before we venture into how our customers have changed their expectations, let's take a bit, let's take a step back and see how we have changed, right? Because we ourselves are customers to some product or some services or the other, right? So you can have some introspection and see how your expectations have changed. And if at all, we go back to some sort of life that we had pre-pandemic, we will see how this changes will be adopted in here, how businesses can do, what businesses need to adopt, and how you can do it, right? So yeah, with this change, we will go to the next one. So this topic, as you can see, is about 2021 and going forward, right? I think it's important that before we see what's ahead of us, it's important to know what's behind us, right? Just a bit of an idea of what's gotten us this far, right? So it's important to understand what's happening to our customers and our customer experience during this pandemic, especially. The reason why we say, especially during this pandemic, is there's been a drastic change, right? We can all agree on that. And let's not go into too much of a statistics, but I'd like to point out a couple of things here. So here it says, hey, during this time alone, there's been a whopping 73% of people who have gone for new digital services or products. I think all of us, during this time have used, have bought groceries online, right? So during the beginning of the lockdown, maybe we started using one app, and I'm sure now most of us have changed to some other app, right? Why do you think this change has happened? Mostly, at least for me, the reason why I changed is because the experience was not good, especially when I had these return issues, right? And as you can see, when your return policies are not going to be good, your customers are going to leave out. They are not going to be happy with you, which translates to a bad customer support experience, which means, some fair percentage of customers are bound to leave you, right? Let's just keep this, idea in place, not the numbers maybe, but just understand that, you need to provide good customer experience, not just in terms of your product and services, but also the support that you're going to provide, right? Let's keep this in mind. This is what we have had so far in the pandemic, and see what's next for us, right? So now that we are seeing all of these changes, our customers are changing, their behaviors, what they expect from us are all changing. So who bears this brunt is going to be the companies, your organizations, the brands. They're the ones who feel the brunt. And why do they feel this brunt? Is because they have, at least some companies don't have an idea of what their customers are up to, right? Like they know that, okay, these many customers are using our product, these many have come on new, they have all of these data points, but they have no insights about it, no proper context for them to take the next action, right? Like Praveen had mentioned in the previous session, it's important that you know what your customers up to in the sense after they start using your services or product, right? So this is where the companies are struggling. So we will see now how the businesses can make changes along these lines, how they can get rid of their struggles, right? So this is what your customers need from you, right? Before you start making changes, you need to know where you need to make these changes, which means you need to also align yourselves with your customers' expectations, with their goals, right? So this is what your customers want. They want to be always on. What does it mean is we are having a well-connected world right now, right? We are always connected to our friends, to our peers, to our, to anyone. Even now at this moment, in real time, we're all being connected across the world. So in a very similar way, your customers also want to be connected with you at all times. And by way of connection, they also want, or rather they expect answers from you at a very faster rate, right? So when you're being connected with them at all times, you also need to be with them on platforms or mediums where they are familiar or where they are already, right? So just keep that in mind and we'll see what that means. So we have seen so far how the customer's experiences changed, what their expectations are, and or rather we can say why companies should make these changes, right? So we'll see along what lines they should make these changes, right? So yeah, first and foremost, if you ask me, is going to be accelerating the digital experiences, which means you come online, your product, your services should go digital, because that's what this pandemic has taught us. We've seen many retail businesses, all the brick and mortar retail businesses have gone online, have started using WhatsApp to engage with their customers because that's where they are, right? So that's where accelerating the digital experiences will come into place. First, let's go online. That's going to be the first step. Now, once you've been there already, these are the top 3 things that you should do, right? The first here is going to be to make your conversations or your engagement with your customers more personalized, right? Now, why do I say personalized is because your customers don't want just some transactions with you, not just some business, right? They want much more than that, which means they want an experience with you, a good memory with you. And that's what makes them loyal to you, to your brands, right? So you make these conversations as personalized as possible, as real time as possible. And like I said, on platforms that are familiar to them. Could be like WhatsApp, WeChat, Line, it could be, or it could be social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook, because we see that it's there more customer engagement happens, which means more of your product growth and your product sale will also happen, right? So you take your services to platforms where your customers are familiar with. That's the first step. And once you start engaging, the next that you do is make it more proactive, right? Because you don't want to sit around and wait for your customers to come and tell you, hey, this is what is going wrong, or I'm not happy, and all of that. In a very similar fashion as to what Praveen had mentioned, you'll have all these signals already in place. So you identify those signals and reach out to your customers and prospects at the right time. This ensures that you're always in loop, you're always aligned to what your customers' expectations are, right? So that's where the second part comes into place as part of the digital experience, engagement, and a proactive one at that. So when you have these, personalized experience, provide personalized experience, have good engagement with the customer, proactive one, you start to understand, more and more as to your customers, what different sets of your customers want, maybe what your SMB wants, what your B2C wants. You get to know all of that. By means, you will get to know the voice of your customers. When you know the voice of your customers, again, like I said, you start aligning your business goals, your team's goals along your customers' expectations, which means it feeds into having more personalized experience and engagement. So you can see that it's like a feedback loop, right? So you start engaging, you start using one, then it goes on to the next and the next, right? So, and it's a very good feedback. It's not going to be a negative one, right? So this is the first thing that you do, right? You offer a personalized experience, have a proactive engagement, and understand your customers. So these are the things that you're expected to do, right? Now, in order to do that, um, you need to know your customers, right? Because unless you know whom you are whom you are providing services to, who is using your product, there's no point in changing how we are doing the business or how we are supporting the customers, right? So it's important that you offer this comprehensive view or get this comprehensive view of your customers. When I say that, it could be from any of your platforms. It could be from your ERP system, e-commerce platform. It could be from the CRM. It could be from generally your emails, help desk system, all of that, right? Uh, this has to be provided to your customer support team, customer care team, because this is like a master uh, record data, right? This sort of master record helps your uh, team in having the right context. And when they have the right context, it means that they are able to provide this wow experience to the customer. Because unless you know the customer, unless you know what they are experiencing, why they are facing issues, we can't help them in the right way, right? So you need to have all these contexts. So that's where having this 360-degree view of customers are going to help. So that's where we will start. We'll know the customer and then provide the next ones, right? So yeah, 360-degree view for you. Then we will now see how you can go about that, right? Because so far, these are the questions that we have answered. We know what our customers want, their expectations, how it's changed. That is given to us now. That's something that we've identified. Next, we've seen how your business should be aligned to it, right? So we know that, okay, these are the places where you need to make some changes maybe. That's good. And we know where to start now. And once we have started, right, how do we make this sort of make this sort of go to the customer, right? Because okay, we are saying all these engagement has to do, but what are the ground level changes that you make, or what are the ground level changes that you do to your business? And that's where the AI and automation first approach comes into place. Why? Because now more than ever, your customers are reaching out to you at a very large scale. I'm sure you'll agree with me, because everyone is online. All these services, like I said, all the products are online. So all our engagements are online, which means your customer queries, the reach out that your customers have to you are going to increase, right? So now that it's increasing, the first thing that we are expected to do is have this, enable the self-help for the customers. And why do we say it that way? Is because um, your customers want the information first to themselves. They want to be able to look at what your products offer, what services you offer, right? They don't want to be reaching out to you for each and every question that they have, right? And that's also a good way for you, because you don't want to burden your customer support team with each and every question from your customers, right? So enabling customers towards self-help is the first thing. And once you do that, right, you handle all of these extra, this large volume, especially during this time that's come with bots, and thereby you reduce agent burden. Why do we say bots? Is because one, I'm sure you would have noticed how in the earlier slide we said your customers always want to be on and they want faster resolution, and your bots can help you with that. Because the bots are going to provide direct answers to the customers in the way that they want, or help them with any services that's required, thereby reducing the load on your agent, right? So the Freshworks bot helps in exactly that. That's one. And by this, you also make the zero contact resolution an easy possibility, right? So after doing all of this, right? So far we have seen it from the customer's point of view, from the business point of view. Now, an important stakeholder in all of these changes is going to be a customer service employees themselves, or your team in itself, right? Let me take a pause here, because all of us, including me, including Praveen, all of us have been remotely working. We're all customer support in a way or the other. We interact with the customers, right? And the main issue, or rather, one of the challenges that we face, that we see businesses facing in the past few months, is to be able to train your employees, be it old, be it the new ones, right? That's where they're facing issues. They need to equip them, because you you'll have to keep training your employees. You need to ensure that they are being reinvented for the changing times, right? So that becomes one of the challenges. So you need to look out for that from your employees' perspective. So that's going to be, the global workforce. So enabling all of them to work together in a remotely fashion. That's one. Second is, like I said, onboarding new ones and ensuring that they have platforms or tools which will help them in understanding your product services better, rather than having to wait for a proper, a classroom training, because that's not going to be possible now. Yeah, right. So let's be real on that. So you need to provide all these online training materials for them. Now, once you've equipped them, once they've started using or rather started supporting your customers, they're going to get all these queries, right? They're going to start engaging with the customers, and it's important that you automate how it's being, let's say, how the customer support handles this, because like I mentioned earlier, the customer queries or the number of times your customers reach out to you has increased tremendously, right? They are reaching out to you now more than ever. That's how it's been, and that's how it'll be going forward as well. So you need to automate this, have the AI backing up your automation, and ensure that there's a smarter way to, ensure that the workload is distributed evenly. And that's where, the Freshworks platform, be it help desk tool, the CRM, or the Fresh Success is going to help you out, right? So these are the three important stakeholders that we have seen. So what does all of this translate to you, to your business, to your management? Is nothing but results, right? All of them want, all of us, in fact, want good results from the businesses that we are doing. So to get that good businesses, we need to know where we are at right now. We need to have some sort of like an indication that tells us, okay, what are we doing good? What are we doing bad, maybe, or what is not going right, right? So these are all the things that we need. And these are nothing but metrics that you can see here. Now, metrics of the past, if you ask me, even when I started with Freshworks, these were the metrics that that we pitched to the customers. What was important to them at that point of time, which was, hey, how long are my team taking to handle the customer questions? How much are they handling? How happy are my customers, with our services? Valid, it was a very fair point to ask all of that at that time. Definitely it was. But if you see today, we are not happy with just what happened so far. We need to know what will happen after this time in the future. So Praveen spoke about how you can look at accounts that are risk at churning. So you need that forecasting to be available, and businesses want that so that they can take the right decisions. And some of the metrics you can see here are forecasting churn, predicting more, and like I said, the businesses are not just happy with if their customers are happy or unhappy, but they want to know what their sentiment is for the customer, if they will be a good promoter of the brand, if they'll be loyal to the brand, which is where the NPS comes into place. And they want to know if they are happy, sad, and all of that, how their sentiment is, right? So these sort of metrics have gone through a revolution, and these are some of the indicators of what's expected, what the businesses are expecting now, and what's also bound to come, from 2021 and going forward, right? Because, like I said, it's here to stay. So these are the different things. Now, having all of this in place, can we say that customer experience will be a North Star in 2021? Absolutely. The bottom line is yes, definitely. Why? Because the customer experience that you offer to your users, to your consumers, is what will define you, is what will set you apart from your competitors, from your other companies that are out there in your vertical, right? That's what is going to make or break your brand. Why I say that is, as you can see from this, one of the stats here that says, when the customers have very good experience with you, be it in terms of anything, right? They're going to stay with you, they're going to be loyal to you, and they're also going to be very good advocates for your brands, right? The customer advocacy will get boosted by this. That's what is important. And as you can see here, the customer's expectations are at this level, but then what the businesses are able to meet is very minimal. So we need to bridge that gap. So you need to have tools for that, that's in place. And this, along with what you can see on the left-hand side, is the intentional customer experience. why we are mentioning this specifically is because so far throughout this experience, throughout these slides, we have seen what our customers want, what is their expectation, how things have changed, what your business should do, how should you do it, how should your employees be trained for that. Okay, this is all good, right? Now, it doesn't just start and stop with your customer support team, right? You need to make this a company level approach or an org level approach. Which one? That is nothing but the customer first approach, right? So it's important that you have this customer first approach. And how do you go about that? Is, like I said, first we know your customers, know who they are, how they are behaving, forecast, get those metrics done. And once you have that, you have this this 360-degree view of all of your customers. You know who's at risk, you know who's doing well, what's going well for you, right? So you have that. Then you provide this personalized experience to ensure that you retain your customers, because it's very hard to acquire new customers. So and going forward, especially in, during these tumultuous times, it's important that we retain our customers. And how do we do that? Is by providing these personalized experiences across the channels, and most importantly, the familiar channels of your customers, right? Identify that. That's important. That's one. The next one is going to be to ensure that this is an org level approach, right? Like I said, not just stop with the customer support team. And we are already here. Freshworks is already here. And as you can see, Gartner had identified Freshworks as a visionary in the customer engagement software. Our excuse me, our focus has been to provide or help businesses to build brands which are going to last customer for life, right? And we've been at it for close to more than 10 years now. We just recently celebrated our 10-year anniversary. So this is what we've been building right from the scratch, right? From the moment that you acquire your customers, you talk to them, you engage with them, you provide support, and you help, we help you retain them as well, right? So you have this full a life cycle of your customers with our softwares. And what this does is it helps you in providing this wow experience to the customer, because you need them all in one place, and that's how it's going to be going forward, right? So yeah, so this is what we are at right now. And the key takeaway, right, from all of this. So as you can see, we're going to press a reset for the customer experience, because I'm sure you would have been with me so far. You will have seen that what's changed, how our experiences in fact have changed, how businesses are bound to change, and all of that, right? So here's what we can expect from 2021 going forward. Digital experience is only going to accelerate. Just because we go back to probably a pre-pandemic world doesn't mean we'll get rid of what we had used so far. No, we're only going to use them more, right? So the digital experience is going to accelerate, and by that, you're going to have a customer-centric approach in all of the product services that you offer. And it's not just for your B2B, B2C, it could be for your vendors. It is also most importantly for your employees, right, who are going to be there. So that is, the second thing that's expected from, the businesses, or how it's going to be from 2021. And most importantly, like I said, CX, the customer experience is what will define your brand, is what will make your brand, make your customers loyal to your brand, to your company, to your organization, right? So what do you do next? These things. So we'll first start by, identifying your customers. First, understand what their expectations are, how it's changed, and all of that. So you need to know your audience to start making any changes. You do that first. Then we go ahead and understand how our expectation, our customers' expectation can be aligned with our business goals, right? Because only by serving our customers better are we going to make our businesses better, right? So that's going to be the second thing. And once you do that, we need to see what is the sort of change that we have to make in terms of the the offers that we provide to our customers, the services that we provide, maybe we need a change, a reg change, right? So that's the third thing that we will do. And by doing this, by understanding the customers, making these changes, we're going to change how our customers experience our product or services. That's where redesigning the customer journeys are going to come into place. And once we do all of this, it's important that we also equip our our team or employees, and like I said, not just the customer support team, all of your team, at an org level, to ensure that we're all aligned in one place, right? So this is where these are the things that we are bound to do or expected to do in the coming months. So just keep these three things in mind, right? The digital experience, how it has to be a customer-centric approach, and how you need to provide this personalized experience. So these three will be the key takeaways from this session. So yeah, give us a call and create a customer for life brand with us. So that's all from us, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Ramya. Oh my God, that was such a good presentation. You guys, if you enjoyed it, once again, let's give a virtual round of applause in the chat box right now. We actually have a question that came in. And okay, this one is from Chenwen again. Chenwen, I love the fact that you're asking so many questions. They are so detailed. Keep them coming. To everyone else who has any questions, just once again, leave them in the Q&A box and we'll answer them right now. So the question is, I read somewhere that the pandemic has accelerated digital transformation and customer experience in just a few months against the earlier predicted 5 to 7 years. What are your views on it?
Yes, that is bang on, I would say. The views is, yes, it'll only keep accelerating, right? Simply because, like I said, the services that we had to go, out to buy or use or experiences, all of it have gone online, which means more and more consumers, including ourselves, are going to be online. And that's why it's accelerated in the past few months, because we need to live our lives just from our home and still have our experiences, still survive, still do the things that we do. So yes, that's why it's accelerated. So as opposed to the 5 to 7 years, and going forward, it will continue to accelerate, but maybe not at this, this tremendous level that we have seen in the past few months. But yes, it's bound to accelerate. And it's a welcome change also.
It definitely is. I mean, I think over the past few months, we've definitely seen, especially the older generations, they've really started to pick up technology, like things that would be so difficult to actually encourage them to dabble in the first place. They have started to do, and I think that also adds on to acceleration. And I also love the fact that you talked about understanding your customers. It's such a simple thing, but I think a lot of us overlook it, in a general term. So why do you think that is? Something so simple, we just tend to overlook it so much.
True, that is definitely true. The reason that I have seen with prospects, with the customers that we've engaged, is they have these data points, right? So I'm sure you'd have seen these memes which says there are data points, but then they're not connected well, because when it's not connected, you don't have the knowledge of what your customer's experience is like, what their insights are like. So the connection is what is missing. And once you have that connection, you know what your customers want, and by that, you'll align your business goals. So I think you have the data, just ensure that you get it all connected, right? So that's where it starts.
All right, absolutely super. So this one just came in from Chenwen again. So how does AI or ML enhance customer experience for SMEs?
AI, ML enhances. Okay, right. The first thing in terms of SMEs, if I see, is their businesses, depending on their model, what I've seen is they have this bandwidth issue, right? They might not have a big customer support team who's going to be engaging with their customers, but at the same point of time, they're going to have a lot of customers. And especially in these last few months, we've seen new businesses cropping up, which start off as SMEs, right? So it's the AI and ML will help them in reducing their burden on their already stretched customer support team. That's where it's going to start. That is one. And second is, be it SME or enterprise, mid-market, whatever businesses, they all have processes, right? A lot of repetitive processes. So the AI ML can help them in automating all of these processes. So these are the main two things that I see could enhance the SMEs.
Okay, thank you for that question. You guys, we still have a lot of time on our hands right now. So once again, if you have any questions for Ramya on your topic here, just leave them in the Q&A box. This one's from Clarence. Clarence's question is, do you feel customer experience is important for SMEs? And how to ensure our customers have good customer experience with our own services?
Absolutely. To answer the first question, is it important for SMEs? Absolutely, because I would say start, viewing your own employees as, first one of your customers, because that's where it starts, right? So when you start with that and you expand to your customers, because it's only through customers that we can retain the businesses. So your product or your services doesn't just end with your customers buying it, but actually making use of it and being with you. And that's where, like I said, the loyalty will come into place, right? So it's important that you offer the good customer experience, however small, however you are able to do it. Let's start with it, right? And when I say start, first identify your customers, make that connection, and then we can go into providing how good the customer experience can be. So that's the one. And you mentioned the second question. I didn't catch that.
How to ensure our customers have good experience with our own services?
With your own services, so with your own services, I'm assuming it could be an in-house tool or an email that you might be having, Clarence. So you can also ping it here if it's something else. So the first is you collate all of them in one place. That's very much important, because even in the case of SMEs, we have seen that customers have different channels through which they reach out. There is always email, there's always phone, and now there is WhatsApp, be it in any business, right? So it's important that you start collating it. If you have this own services, ensure that your service is able to scale to the level that you want with your customer experiences, your customer queries. So let's start with that. And then, my main focus will be to see if your own services are able to scale up with your customer queries, with your expectations also, because as you start moving, acquire more customers, you're going to get more questions, right? So you need to start with that. So first, identify the scalability.
All right, super. And I think, Ramya, you also mentioned earlier that, customers like it when things are personalized to their liking as well. So I think that's a very good thing that, Clarence, you can take away from that. So thank you for that question. So we have a bit more time. Let's just give them a couple more moments. We can chat for a bit while waiting for questions to come in. So, Ramya, this year has brought a lot of change. Some quite uncomfortable, I must say. But I think, like you mentioned in your presentation earlier, change is inevitable, and if we don't change with it, we're going to get left behind. So, what are some of the personal struggles you had to deal with this year?
One is not being able to go out. I would say I'm a bit of a jogger, so I love going out, having that morning run. So that was a bit of a struggle for me, because home workouts don't really work for me. And that is one. Second is, most importantly, not being able to interact with my colleagues. That's one of the personal struggles, because work from home, we're always at the desk, right? I'm sure all of us do that. So we had this proper, difference, this demarcation when we were working from office. So I missed that. That was a bit hard to accommodate to. First 2 months, it was easy, but then after that, it became so difficult to accommodate. So I think those two were difficult during those times. But
correct. Because I think, like, when you stay at home, you tend to feel a lot more isolated. Sometimes it's that human interaction that just kind of grounds us all together. And I understand why it's hard, because I think I also at a certain point went through that. I'm not really an outdoor person per se. I do enjoy going once in a while. The freedom to go out, the choice to go out, has been taken away. So when that happens, you're like, okay, what do I do now? So I totally feel for you. How long have you been away from the office then?
It's going to be, so from March we've been away, so it's been 8 months.
Oh wow,
easily. Yeah, it's been 8 months. Yeah.
And I remember hearing Praveen saying earlier that you won't be back in the office till July of next year, right?
That is correct, yes. And that's been a blow to all of us. Those of us, who miss office, and our office spaces are very good. So there's interaction, all of that is something that we miss. But yeah, I think until July, we don't have a very good thing inside.
Well, I hope you stay strong. I know you're gonna make it through because
All of
you're a
us.
very strong girl. Yeah, we have to. We have no choice
We
at
have
this
to.
point. We just have to push through. Okay, so two questions just came in. Let's go back to this. So this one's from Brian. Thank you for the question. The question is: can Freshworks run for business intelligence of front end and back end?
Can Freshworks run for business intelligence of front end and back end? Yeah, it can, because Freshworks, is both for your customers, facing front, and also for your, the back end teams, be it any product at that point, right? So like Praveen had mentioned, there's Fresh Success, and then there is Desk, which is going to be customer facing. So all of it will have the front end side where your customers, your employees, whomever is your end users are going to use that. And then there will be, back into it, right? So, and both of them will work side by side. And when let me just go back to the question. You mentioned, can Freshworks run for business intelligence of front end and back end? Yes, the business intelligence will exist for both of them. And with the, the AI capabilities that we have, not just for the customer experience, but also for the analytics, we are able to bring in the intelligence, to be able to make good decisions for the business on both the levels.
Okay, thank you. So our next question comes from Clarence. There's another one from Timber that just came. You guys are killing it in the Q&A session. I love that. So once again, keep them coming. This question from Clarence is: do you have any good suggestions for SME business owners on how to survive this pandemic world? Like tips to increase revenue? Does customer review influence people, when it comes to making the decision to buy the service?
By the service. Absolutely. Good suggestion to survive in pandemic is, I would say, let's focus on retaining our customers. That was the previous session by Praveen, because it's hard, it's tough to get your new customers, and it is going to be tough going forward, right? That's one. Second is, you need to make your business, your product services as relevant as possible in the coming months. Like I said, you need to go digital. You need to be there where your customers are. So that would, at least ensure that you are able to survive in the pandemic world. And third, importantly, you engage with your customers, because all of us are going through a tough time, including, our customers, including us. So it's important that you have that conversation with them, let them know that you're there. So that's going to also, make them loyal to your brand. So that's going to help a lot. And the next one was tips to increase the revenue. One, I would say, is by engaging, by making your online experience very easy for your customers, because now that things are going back, we are seeing, a sprout in all of the business, in most of the business aspects. Travel is one that took a very hard hit. Even there, we are seeing some sort of, a growth, or rather, they're sprouting up, right? So it's important that you go online and see what the trends are. That is first. Second is, in order to increase the revenue, is we start engaging with the prospects. Now, so far it's been to retain the customers. Now we start engaging with them to see how you can make it better for them, especially in the social distancing, all this remote environment. So this is on the, on a very large level, but our product experts, maybe from the Freshworks CRM, from the marketing, can help us more on that. So probably if you can help us with your email address, we can help you with some inputs on that front.
All right, lovely. So our next question is from Chunwen. Now this one is, how does Malaysia as a region respond to customer engagement tools? Do you have any customer success stories that you could share?
Definitely. In fact, Malaysia is one of our very strong regions, I would say, in the APAC, and the audience have been very good, because we started with APAC so many years before, right? And it was hard to first venture into it because the APAC was different for all of us. There was language barrier and all of that. So in the case of Malaysia, we've seen them in terms of customer engagement tools. In fact, they are the front runners, right? Because they adopt to the to the changes, to the ongoing changes very quickly. Be it, so main thing that we have seen is on the WhatsApp, WeChat, or the Line front, be it Yellow, or be it on the AI and bots, right? So they are exploring more because their customers expect that, and they are listening to it. That's what we've seen in the case of Malaysia. So yeah, they have been pretty responsive, I would say, and also sometimes proactive in identifying the customer's needs. So yeah, there you go on Malaysia. And any customer stories that you could share? Definitely, we have some leading brands from Malaysia. What we can do is probably help you with some of the customer stories that we have. I can also point you to the customer stories that's there on the website, so you can take a look at it. So that will help you out.
And of course, I just wanted to add on to you talking a little bit about WhatsApp. The thing is about WhatsApp is that it's so hands-on, it's so quick. And the thing is, this just happened to me yesterday. I actually got a product and there was a tear in it. So I got online and said, okay, how do I contact this brand that I bought this product from? And there's just the WhatsApp button. I clicked on it, I typed in a message, and I think within the next 2 to 3 minutes, and this was at 8 p.m., way past working hours. And I got the reply, and I was just so happy. They're like, oh, okay, we'll send you, a new product today. And I think that just shows you how important it is, because we're always on our phones or on Instagram, like you mentioned, on Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp. So, Chinmay, if this, is something you can take away, please do, because, I think Ramya has given us a lot of great information today on how you can really engage, with your customers. So thank you so much for that question. It's great. You guys, we have a lot more time. We're still going to be chatting here. We're going to give you maybe another 5 to 10 minutes if there are any questions that are coming in. If not, we can wrap up a little bit earlier than, we planned. So once again, keep those questions coming in. Oh, it's actually raining really heavy on my end right now.
That's good for you.
What's the weather like on your end? Is it hot, cold? Are there any changes, around this time of the year?
It is. In fact, it was raining until last week. We had really good spells, I should say. It's the monsoon time for us in India, especially in the southern part. So it's been really good. And we've had some, a gap for the past few days. So the sun is just coming out, not too hot, but it's a very good weather to actually go out. But, we can't. So we're just enjoying it from here. But yeah, it's been good.
So how was Diwali like for you? Did you manage to have people come over and visit, or, did you manage to go out and just see, your close relatives? What was it like?
In fact, we had some of our relatives coming into our home. So after a long time, we met up with our cousins. So it was a welcome relief, at least, right? So we had to make do within our home. We couldn't venture out, but it was a good change. So we met up with the families and all of that, played games. So it was fun Diwali this time, at least for me.
That's good to know. And I know with you spending so much time at home, have you managed to adopt any new hobbies? Anything you discovered, some underlying talents, anything like that?
So one thing that I have seen or I've started doing is sort of the sketching that I used to do. Not too much, but back in school we all used to sketch, and I used to sketch a lot. But then after college, office, and all of that, I just let it go. Now I've started doing that again, all of this, and also these, the Zentangles and all of that. So I've started venturing into that and been slowly getting into it. So yeah, that's one thing that I've been doing.
I think it's pretty impressive, because I'm completely hopeless with a pencil. I'm not good at watercolor either. So, but when it comes to handicraft and putting things together, I'm good with that. So I guess it must be very therapeutic for you in a way to just kind of, reconnect with an old hobby. It just takes you back to a simpler time where things were not so complicated.
Definitely. Sure.
All right. I think we don't have any more questions. And with that, I think we can wrap up our session a little bit earlier. Ramya, I'd like to thank you from all of us experts here. Thank you so much for being a part of Digital Day and coming on board with us for the Freshworks webinar 2020. I'd like to thank you so much. You have been such a joy to talk to. And I think our audience here has taken away a lot of important information. Simple, really, really simple, but things that we just tend to forget. So thank you so much for bringing this to light for us. Thanks again.
Definitely. Thank you, Laureen. And you've been a wonderful MC. Thank you so much for, being engaging with us. And thank you for the audience. It's been a pleasure to connect with you all. So yeah, we'll hope to see you all once, when you're able to see, in real time. Yeah.
All right. Stay strong. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Exabytes. Grow your business online.